Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and on this episode we're reviewing AEW Collision from August 26, 2023. If you haven't seen any of my videos before, I do rate everything on a 1 to 5 scale, 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. Let's jump right in. We start the show with Jack Perry retiring the FTW Championship, or having a retirement ceremony for it. I will say this about Jack Perry. He seems to be getting more and more comfortable on promos as a heel, and he's getting better every time. With that being said, I do still think he's not on a level promo-wise as his ring talent would be. There's a couple things that felt a little bit questionable on this. I know this is pre-tape, so they didn't go back and change it, but having the somewhat funeral motif after Bray Wyatt and Terry Funk passed away, I may have re-edited something or maybe just did a little segment they could have recorded. Who knows? I understand, they were probably traveling when this was being sent to the network, but just a little minor thing. Perry goes to destroy the belt with a sledgehammer. Then we see a video of Hook doing some pull-ups on some looked like stoplights. Then we go back to the ring. Hook standing behind him, hits a couple suplexes, and we get announced that they're going to be wrestling for the FTW Championship on 0 Hour. Pretty good segment. Nice to see Hook back. I think both of these guys have a tremendous amount of potential, and I'm excited to see where they go from here. Now, speaking going from there, we go to our first match of the show. We have Orange Cassidy, Penta El Zero Miedo, and Eddie Kingston going up against the Butcher, the Blade, and Kip Sabian. The Butcher, Blade, and Kip are three guys I wish they would use a little bit more prominently. I can't tell you the last time I've seen any of the three pick up a win, but I definitely enjoy all three of them. I think Butcher and the Blade could be a really good top tier tag team, and part of it I think maybe kind of like what they did with Jack Perry, where they took his name from Jungle Boy. Maybe still call the team the Butcher and the Blade, but call them Pepper Parks and Andy Williams. I don't know. Kip Sabian, I don't know if it's just me. If it is, let me know in the comments if you think differently than this, but I think Kip Sabian has a ton of untapped potential. I think he could be a top level heel. He has a punchable face. He's very good in the ring in my opinion. He's got an air of believability to me. I don't know, maybe I'm seeing more of him than most people do. Like I said, if I'm seeing something that's not there and you disagree, let me know in the comments. This is a decent match. Overall, the faces do get the win. Orange Cassidy, Penta, and Eddie Kingston. I'm giving this match a 3. I thought it was good, not really great. Afterwards, we see the Best Friends come out to cut a promo with their three partners for the Stadium Stampede match at All In. Then we get a video from the Blackpool Combat Club with Santana and Ortiz. Kind of find it interesting that Santana and Ortiz were on different sides here, if what we're to believe that they had a falling out actually happened. And even more interesting, when you go to the new merchandise on AEW's website or Pro Wrestling Tees, they have a Santana solo shirt. So I don't know if Santana Ortiz is going to come back as proud and powerful, or this is all just a thing to throw us off that scent. I really hope they do, because I think they're a fantastic tag team, and I think you can never have too many really good tag teams. As they're cutting a promo, Eddie Kingston storms from the ring, goes to the back area, gets there, goes to the cameraman, says, "You were just talking to him, where'd they go?" He cuts his promo there. I thought that was all really good. Eddie Kingston, obviously one of the great promo guys in all of wrestling. This was fantastic. Really sold the importance of the Stadium Stampede match, which if done properly is going to be a really fun match. I hope it's one right in the middle of the card where it breaks up the monotony, because I assume in less than 24 hours at All In, it's going to be a 5-hour show or a 4-hour show. So some fun stuff like Stadium Stampede could be really cool to add to that. Speaking of really cool, just talking about potentially building up one tag team that's been on the back burner, here's another one that I think is a great tag team. The Dark Orders, John Silver and Alex Reynolds, are going up against Darius Martin and Action Andretti, and the team I'm speaking of is the Dark Order team. While I think Darius Martin and Action Andretti are a fun team, I think the actual team there is Darius and Dante whenever they're both healthy at the same time, which seems to be something that's not happened in feels like years now. This was another good match, not a great match. I like that Silver and Reynolds are acting more heelish now. They're more willing to do heel tactics. I'm going to give this a 3. Silver and Reynolds do pick up the win here. Like I said, so far the matches are good, nothing really great. Then as far as the segments, which have been pretty good. We get a rap video from the Acclaimed, basically talking about Billy Gunn being the badass again. I'm all for it. I thought this was good. While I don't think that Max Caster is the best rapper in the world, he's confident enough and good enough that his raps aren't cringeworthy. It's not embarrassing to have him on television, where I think a lot of times rappers in wrestling have been cringeworthy and embarrassing. This is a good video. I enjoyed it. They're highly entertaining. I feel like his style would work well, not on the rap charts. I think he would be better suited for something like Wild 'N Out, which is a good show, because he's got that kind of quick-wittedness about it. Just saying, I'm probably overthinking this. Next up, we have what probably will surprise everybody as my favorite match of the night. We have Big Bill going up against Valerie Morales, and I really feel like this is a reclamation project with Ricky Starks being the manager of Big Bill, almost like a Diesel Shawn Michaels teaming. I feel like they're really starting to use Big Bill almost like he was used in Impact as W. Morrissey, where I felt he had a really good run in Impact. I know this was just a glorified squash match, but Big Bill looked as good as he's ever looked. And it's funny, when he looks his best is when he has a smaller guy that could do the talking for him. Whether it be Enzo back in the day or Ricky Starks now, I think he benefits a lot from that. This is very fun. Big Bill picked up the win. Starks whipped Barry Morales like he did every week with the belt, which kind of makes me think, if he got suspended for whipping Ricky Steamboat with the belt, why is he not getting suspended or adding to his suspension for these subsequent whippings? Is it because these guys aren't legends? It's a logic problem in my head. I'm just saying, again, I might be overthinking this. I'm going to give this one a 4. I was highly entertained, and I hope that they're going to keep up the momentum with this teaming of Starks and Big Bill. I think they may have stumbled into greatness here. Next up, we get a promo with Lexi Nair and Ruby Soho. Ruby Soho basically throws out a challenge for All Out, so we're already building for the pay-per-view a week from now, which is funny to say that there's pay-per-views a week apart. I hate to tell Tony Khan, but most of your audience can't afford both pay-per-views. They're going to make a choice on one or the other, or they're going to pirate both of them, if not just one of them. $100 in a month is a lot to ask, especially when, as wrestling fans, for the last decade, we've been putting down $10 a month and getting every WWE pay-per-view. Just saying. I don't mind the quarterly pay-per-views and putting out the $50 quarterly. I think that's fair, or fairer, but 2 in a week, I think that's a little much. Now, jumping off my soapbox and back into our next match, we get Willow Nightingale going up against Robin Renegade. I feel like we are falling into the same thing that I've mentioned again and again. We get the same women's match around the same time on the show, just one women's match. I will say they had 2 backstage segments, so 3 segments with women involved. It feels like this is the slot they're going to put the women's match in, and that's all we're ever going to get of it. I feel like we're not ever going to get, but maybe once in a while, a main event, so the internet shuts up about it, and then they'll go right back to the slot, which seems to be the top of the second hour. Saying that, this was a decent match. It felt just good. It didn't feel great. This is kind of a middle-of-the-road show for a go-home show, in my opinion. Willow Nightingale does pick up the win here. I'm giving this one a 3. After that, we get Chris Statlander, who's answering Ruby Soho, basically accepts a match for All Out. So that's going to be awesome. I think that's going to be a great match. The only thing I worry about is with Ruby Soho, at some point, you have to pull the trigger on one of the 2 championships. She can't lose every big match she's in, or else you're just going to destroy all credibility that she has. And she has a ton of credibility. Just my opinion. I don't know if it's time to take the belt off of Statlander. She's only had it for a little bit. So I don't know where they're going to go with that. But they run the risk of really damaging Ruby Soho if she doesn't win. And they run the risk of damaging Statlander if she doesn't retain, in my opinion. After that, we get a Keith Lee match, who there was rumors that he walked out of AEW, but it was a misunderstanding. He's going up against Zicky Dice, and this was a good match. It was a good match. I'm not going to complain about the match at all. It's not a great match. I've seen better from both of these wrestlers. What I will complain about is Zicky Dice. And I'm not complaining about Zicky Dice. I think Zicky is awesome. I just think he deserves better than just being an enhancement talent for Keith Lee. I think he's a very talented wrestler that kind of gives me, in a weird weird way Diamond Dallas Page vibe. I feel like he can get that organic rub like Page got. I know his gimmick is not for everyone. Some people think it's a little bit too goofy. I enjoy him though. I think he's highly entertaining. Hell, I even follow him on Twitch and watch some of his Twitch streams because I find him entertaining in real life as well. This is another good match. Keith Lee did pick up the win here. Again, I'm going to give this one a 3. Next up, we get another video with La Faction and Go Nobles. A continuation of last week. We find out where they were taken to. And I misspoke last week. I said it was Laredo Kid, but it looks to be Dralistico. So they're in what looks to be a warehouse with a bunch of masked men and one guy that doesn't have a mask on. Somehow they break free of their restraints and beat up a whole group of people. At the end, we see what looks to be Jose, the assistant, coming in through a door kind of in the shadows. I don't think it was Roosh because he didn't look big enough to be Roosh. And he looked like he had short hair. So I'm guessing this is the toughening him up storyline. I thought it was good. Kind of felt like it belonged more on Lucha Underground than it does here. And I'm not saying I don't enjoy Lucha Underground, but you enjoy different things for different reasons. Just like I love a movie like Anchorman or Hot Fuzz. I don't want to see that comedy when I'm watching Oppenheimer or a Martin Scorsese film. Just saying. You can enjoy both, but not like them together. Finally, we get to our main event, which is considered an all-star match, and it does seem to have a lot of stars here. We get Hook, Darby Allin, Sting, and CM Punk going up against Jay White, Luchasaurus, Christian Cage, and Swerve Strickland. Samoa Joe is on commentary, and Jim Ross is back on commentary for the main event as well. I forgot to mention Caprice Coleman is filling in for Nigel McGuinness, which I think Nigel is in England for the show tomorrow, which is weird because I would think Kevin Kelly would be there too, but who knows. I would assume that Jim Ross would have been there as well, but you never know. This match, I think, suffered from being a little bit too long. It was given about 25 minutes, and yeah, it's an 8-man match. It felt inconsequential. You have a lot of star power. You have a lot of intriguing matchups. Jay White with Punk, Sting. I want to see a lot more of Swerve Strickland and CM Punk. Jim Ross even said it on commentary. When they mixed it up with each other, there was some magic there that I think they need to proceed with. I'd love to see Swerve Strickland being the one to take the real world championship off of CM Punk. I think Swerve has all the tools to be a top level guy in AEW. This was a decent match. Again, it felt a little long. It felt inconsequential. The team of Hook, Darby Allin, Sting, and CM Punk pick up the win here. Afterwards, we get Samoa Joe saying that is the match over because he promised he wouldn't attack anybody during the match. As soon as the match ended, he attacked CM Punk. Jack Perry comes out and attacks Hook. So that was a good brawl to end the show, but the match itself felt a little lackluster. I did like the go-home part, the brawl to end it out. That feels very old school, and Collision feels old school in that good way too. Kind of feels like when Nitro was at its best, or when Monday Night Raw would be at its best, where you get a lot of chaos ending the show going into a pay-per-view or a big event. And this has been a trope through the history of wrestling, or at least since I've been watching wrestling, where you have these huge brawls and blowouts, so you tune into a pay-per-view or whatever they're building for. I'm going to give the match a 3. At the aftermath, I thought was better. That seems to be the overarching thing on this show. The matches were a little lackluster in my opinion. The segments were fantastic. Eddie Kingston hit a home run like he always does. The Acclaim video I really enjoyed. Ruby Soho and Chris Statlander's promos were good. The aftermath of this was really good. So I think the build-up parts of this show were good. The matches not so much. I'm going to give it a 3. It was right there in the middle of the road for me because this is a show that's probably 60-40 in in-ring at least, if not more, as far as what time they spend on it. So if you're going to go that heavy in-ring, I want your in-ring work to be stellar, to be untouchable. Like I said, I'm giving this a 3. Not a terrible show, not a show. Other than the main event, it wasn't a show that felt like it dragged on or I got bored during. And I didn't even get bored during the main event. It just felt like it went on too long. Again, I'm giving it a 3. I think it's middle of the road. With that being said, let's smash that like button, share the video, subscribe if you haven't. If you see where that says join, that's how you become a channel member. Becoming a channel member definitely helps out my channel. If you made it here to the end, let me know, are you planning on purchasing all in and all out, purchasing just all out, or purchasing neither. I don't want to know if you're going to illegally stream it, because I don't want to know if you're committing a crime, and I don't want any proof to be there. So if you're going to plan on doing that, just tell me you're not purchasing. I'm okay with that. Let me know how you feel about the 2 pay-per-views a week apart at full price. They could have at least given us a package deal, like get both for $75. That would have been more palatable than $50 2 weeks in a row. And I don't even think it's 50. I think it's like 60 each. I haven't really looked at the price yet. But with that being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been my review of AEW Collision.